Hi, it's Rupert Hine here from Action Coach Nick Kinross, and I'm joined today by Rhu McKelvey of Beam Orthodontics. Welcome, Rhu.
Thanks very much. Good afternoon. Nice to speak to you, Rupert.
So, so tell me, Rhu, you've been in business as Beam Orthodontics, what, 16 years? What what
Something
took
like 16, 17 years, yeah.
what took you into orthodontics in the first place?
Yeah, it's quite a long route, to be fair. I was biology focused at university A levels. I was didn't medicine, no real medical family, but my brother had kind of toyed with the idea of dentistry. I went to dentistry for want of anything more gripping. It seemed like a good career choice, and that was fine. And I kind of scraped my way through dental school amongst a bit of chasing women and playing rugby and drinking too much beer and all the usual university stuff. And came out of dental school. General practice, it turns out, is really tough. So I did my vocational training year, your apprenticeship year post graduation in general practice in Chester, and it was hard. So I've got the utmost respect for my general dental colleagues running general dental practices up and down the country, because that is a very tough job. And I realized very quickly that are you going to make it a career of this? And orthodontics was the bit that kind of floated my boat a bit more as an undergrad. So having been probably the least academic I was like Mr. 51% through dental school doing my general dental degree. I went back to do more studies, which none of my colleagues could believe. My peers were like, you've got to be joking. But I went off to do another many years of exams. So I was 30 before I actually qualified. Did some Max Fax jobs, had to move around the country with training posts, got onto the Bristol Dental School orthodontic training program, which was very highly regarded at the time. And yeah, managed to get through that and come out the other end just about intact. So yeah, I was 30 by the time I'd finished training. So it was a long slog and a big commitment. But I think to reference the dentist thing, I think general dentistry is a bloody stressful career on all levels. Running a general, high street dental practice, and you meet a lot of stressed out dentists. So there's statistics about alcohol and suicide and all these kind of metrics that are off the scale in dentistry, and you don't meet so many burnt out orthodontics. Orthodontics is a nicer way of doing it. I tell patients, so don't be anxious coming in here. We're not like the real dentists. We're much more like the hairdressers. Chill out, because it's much more gentle and positive rather than the classic dental experience. So yeah, I enjoy it, and it's positive. And I'm still just been away in Germany on a course at the weekend there, so the education never stops. But yeah, it's good. I've as far as dentistry goes, I've probably ended up by accident in a really good area to be in, so I enjoy it.
Fantastic. And then you've gone from orthodontic surgeon to business owner. So what took you into
Yeah,
running your own business?
yeah. That so as I said, I've been training and doing all these jobs, learning about teeth and all that goes with moving them around until the age of 30. Um, and in the course of that, I'd learned nothing about business, running a business, employing. I'd had tangential experience. 1 year in a general practice as a VT exposed me to a little bit of the private sector. Everything else had been within the NHS institutions as a hospital grade, training grade. So, yeah, well, indeed. I think we ended up wanting to settle in Dundee. My wife's from this neck of the woods originally. There was an opportunity, a gap in the market as we felt up here to start in Dundee, having been working in Edinburgh. I dabbled. So take it back. I qualified at 30, did some locum jobs in and around the southwest down near Bristol and Exeter, where I'd trained. And then I went away with the TA for 6 months. So I spent 6 months in Afghanistan while I was still kind of relatively unencumbered by baggage. And then I got a locum poster back in Edinburgh, returned to Scotland. So that's the point. Having done some locums and worked in other practices, I really recommend that to all the young dentists that I come across. Go and see, even if you're not working, go and visit your mate's practice. When you're a VT, go and spend a day in your pal's practice, because it'll be very different to the environment you're in, and you will pick up stuff. Some of it will be positive, some will be negative. Oh, don't do it that way. Here's a good tip on how to administer the paperwork. You learn things all the time. So go and immerse yourself in as many environments as you can, and pick up what you can. So yeah, we Jane and I, my wife, we decided we were going to start something in Dundee, and yeah, I didn't know what I was getting into, to be honest. It was a deep J curve of work, stress, everything setting up. But you come out of it, and it's good to run your own business, but it's emotional too. So yeah, I don't know. It's not for everybody.
No, and I mean you look at the small business owner is a pretty rare commodity in the world, and yet small businesses are the backbone of the economy. So just tell us a bit about Beam Orthodontic. What have you created?
So in the very first inception, I started off with a rented surgery in Dundee up at Ninewells, rented a dental surgery just to get the ball rolling, starting taking referrals, getting a few patients under my treatment while I was still split locum in Edinburgh and in Aberdeen. So I was doing, I think, 2 days in Dundee, a couple of days in Aberdeen, and a day in Edinburgh, just to keep the cash flow going. There's no money in orthodontics for the first few years because treatments take quite a while. And then, having got the ball rolling, it was 2006 time, looking for property, looking for premises. No one was selling, everyone was hanging on to property. So we took quite a while to find somewhere to develop. And we got this building in South Tay Street in the end, which was quite a big, big plunge for me at the time, financially and in every other respect. So we bought a church hall and converted into 2 floors, and put the dental practice, the orthodontic practice, upstairs, and rented out the ground floor it was a cafe in the end for 12 years. And we're now in that cafe, having expanded. So we've got 9 surgeries, 2 open plan clinics. It's about 28 staff, but that's all grown from 2 surgeries initially, kitted out with, I think, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 of us as a team originally. So it's been a continual, it's that class. The only constant's change, and it's just been gradually growing, evolving, and we're lucky to be in a growth sector, as it were. People want nice smiles, so we've tried to make the most of that trend, and do it to the best of our abilities, more to the point. So yeah, it's been quite a journey. But in reference to the coaching, Rupert, I think that was something that dawned on us very early. So I'd been doing this kind of very peripatetic working thing, and then it's within weeks of opening this place and it being a bit more real, I was, inundated with clinical work and paperwork and stacks of paperwork building up, and I couldn't keep on top of that. So we realized quite early we needed help and advice, and so we got hold of coaches and dental business coaches, and that really has been transformative, having someone to sound off to and get a steady, sympathetic ear, and someone who's seen it all and done it all before and has many clients in the same boat. So I think that's been entirely catalytic. We wouldn't be sitting here now if we hadn't embraced coaching at an very early stage, to be honest, and we're still using coaches now.
So what would you say are the biggest things that you've learned that have catalyzed that success?
Gosh, lots of themes along the way. I think one of the it's that not, don't be afraid to delegate and invest, I think is an important one. So as an orthodontist, we have orthodontic therapists now. So there's dental therapists in general dentistry, but orthodontic therapists are a slightly different beast, and they allow me to delegate the more routine bits of the clinical work, so I can focus on my unique ability of the treatment planning and steering the plans in the right direction, making sure it all ends up nice. So there's the delegation part of it, and even our dental nurses, we delegate highly and use them to the full scope of their abilities, in terms of, I don't need to be taking x-rays if I've got 5 other folk in the building who are qualified and trained to do the x-rays, or taking the scans with the scanner and the records, etc. So it's just that, sticking to your unique ability, and delegating there. And then, as I said, the investing, that's it. When you're starting a small business, it's a big challenge. Can I afford to take on a business manager? Can I afford to take on a business coach? Can I afford to employ another receptionist? And it's these moments that are going to limit your growth, or catalyze it. And that's if you're on the right thing, then investing is usually the right way to go if you can. And there's been a lot of jam tomorrow rather than jam today for the last 16 years, but it's all helped us grow to where we are now.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got 9 surgeries. That's a pretty substantial team to run 9 surgeries. You said you'd been out in Afghanistan, you've been in the TA. What were the lessons you took from military time that you've been able to build into the business and running the team?
So I think that's a very good, interesting question, and it's varied with the scale. So my military experience was more operating in small teams and cross covering one another. So you know I highly medically trained in my little team, so I was the go-to medic guy, but I still had signaling abilities, or I was cross trained in on other areas of what we did. So that translated to when we started up with a team of 4 or 5 of us, everyone was able to step in and answer the phone, book the appointments, doing the forms, doing the questionnaires, sterilizing the instruments, whatever needed to be done, everyone could muck in. And that worked initially. And then there became a point where we needed more specialization and delegation. So all right, now let's train one of the girls up to be an orthodontic therapist. Let's train another one up to be a therapist. Let's get people doing the radiology. Who's going to be the chief of the local decontamination, the sterilization unit? And so it's evolved from the small team, very interoperable, to specialization as we've grown. So that's in terms of the numbers. The other thing that I think I've kept from my military experience has been the communication style and skills. I like to think that I'm very approachable and I've got an open ear, and I'm not an ogre. I think there's a very, the hierarchy is quite flat, I like to think. The girls might tell you otherwise, but that's how I like to see it. And because everybody's got a different perspective. I'm sitting at one end of the business, and in one area, there's various rooms upstairs that I might not go in from one week to the next. So if people can tell me what's going on or what's not going on, then I've got to be all ears to that. And if I'm suggesting a course of action and someone sees, well, that's not going to work, I want them to stick their hand up and tell me that, not sit back and watch a car crash happen. So I think that communication style, I like to think it's that keep the hierarchy element as low as possible.
Yeah, I mean, you see lots of great communication pieces coming in to the whole of the healthcare sector. Things like learning from aviation about just mobile teams and introducing yourself, being on first name terms, so that people aren't afraid to point out when stuff's not going well, so that
Yeah.
you could catch it early. And it's always great hearing how you've built things like that in. So you've built this up from scratch, where you're sitting there at the moment, custom built premises, 9 surgeries, um, specialist referral practice handling, high end orthodontic treatment that keeps you out of general dentistry. Well, what's next? Where's Beam Orthodontics going?
So I think, again, one of my probably overused catchphrases is the only constant is change. The girls, are bored of me saying that. And that is the nature of employing people, of having staff, we've got, I think, quite a few maternities going on currently, which is not what I had in mind when I was projecting budgets for this year last summer and all the rest of it. So, you've got to roll with these things. So that's, no matter what I plan, it doesn't seem to quite turn out that way. And as you get older, you get to more accepting of that and more relaxed about it. And certainly I have anyway, rather than just being frustrated. But as far as the future, you said, we're certainly, I'd like to think we've established ourselves as the go-to orthodontic specialist referral service in the region. And we're very busy in that endeavor. But we only do orthodontics at the moment. So I think when we had the building originally and the 2 floors, I thought when we get the downstairs eventually, maybe we'll go into that wider specialist dental area. So that's what I'm thinking. Over the next few years, we might try and bring in other specialists to offer complementary other services in orthodontics than just ortho. So, and that'll maybe, it's just other income streams that aren't going through me, through my head, my orthodontic brain. I've got other associates here who work with the other orthodontists, but having non-orthodontic specialists as well might be a service that Dundee could use.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you think back over that journey, what's the advice that you would give to your 18-year-old self setting out?
But 18, I would probably say, Rhu, you don't have to be a dick all the time. Not all the time. It's okay. So yeah, that was me. Anyone who knew me at university would echo that one. And then I think the journey I went on was, I kind of roll with it. I think the phrase that I've come across, and again, I use that when I have visiting younger trainee dentists and such. I think if you're going to invest in something, if you're going to put your eggs in a basket, if you're going to put your time and energy and your money into something for your future, the safest bet is yourself, because you can control that. Anything else is a gamble. But if you're going to stake your bet on something, then you might as well do it with something you can commit to, you can control, and you can, not exactly guaranteed, nothing's guaranteed as outside circumstances, but that's the way we've kind of gone. Jane and I, we've rolled all our energy and time and resource into building Beam and making it a success. So, and that's recently quite locally focused, but it's also going back decades of me going from Glasgow Dental School to Chester to, where did I go? Warwick to Derby. Where did I go after that? I think I went to Bristol, to Exeter, back to Scotland. It's been I've had to go where the training posts are and where the job takes you. So it's not a smooth path always, but it's been worth it in the end.
Absolutely. No, well, that's been a really fascinating conversation. And it's always good to hear how knowing where you want to get to, discovering where you want to get to, and following it, even if you've got that, winding path. It's a bit like the boat, isn't it? You may know where you want to get to, but you've sort of got to follow the wind, and you might not go in the straight line to get there. And I love the idea that it's the safest bet is to bet on yourself because you can control it. That's a really. So is there anything that I should be asking you that I haven't?
I think well, there was something about what's been happening recently within Beam. Obviously, we as the business, we expanded into the ground floor, and that was in the offing. We'd started the works pre-COVID, and there was a bit of a pause, and then it was fortuitous that we very shortly after reopening had 4 extra surgeries to expand in that whole messy, let's not even go there, post-COVID era. But so in terms of Beam's recent history, there's been the growth into the ground floor, and that's been largely separated out our adult-focused service to our kids-focused service, which is more upstairs. But then we've also, again, we run very light on our management team. and that's something that we've addressed since then. So we've managed to recruit a marketing and sales manager who's been wonderful, and it takes all that off my shoulders. Lynn has been with me forever as the business development manager, and that's basically, she's done everything. She just worn so many hats, it's ridiculous. And so we eventually managed to prize a few things off her and delegate the marketing and sales side, and then also bringing on members of the team in terms of an operations manager role and trying to deal with some more of the day-to-day stuff that it's trying to stop all roads leading to me, because I'm trying to be busy on the clinical bit, my USP, and my USP is not running a business. That's my day job is doing orthodontics. My night job is running a small business. So trying to get help on that front and redress the balance. We've grown into the clinical team. There's wonderful staff, all these great therapists and nurses and receptionists, all these wonderful people, but the management team's been sadly lacking for far too long. So that's been something that we've neglected. And I think if I had my time again, I would have tackled that earlier, and that might have taken a bit of stress off me over the last 10 years, I think.
Yeah, so a bit of a focus there on building that up over the last few months and immediate future. That's brilliant. Well, look, thank you for spending some time sharing those lessons with us. That's been a really helpful conversation, and wish you all the success in the future. We'll keep a eager eye on how you're expanding.
Thank you, Rupert. It's great speaking to you, and thanks for the opportunity.